And I just like all of you, I was insulted to read the article and talking about us not having leadership. I was insulted by all those things. But from this point forward, I think what's important for us is that we don't do anything in retaliation, whatever you have it. That's not going to accomplish anything, guys. I want to move forward from this. I don't want to sit here and focus on this because all in all, we're at the meeting tonight to, do new business, old business, and, work for the students. And so that's really all I have. So thank you.
Seeing none, thank you. Next up is Aaron Mitchell.
Well, howdy.
Howdy.
All right, guys. I've been listening to a lot of what's been said up here, and I agree with what people are saying. We need to, we need to mend the relationship between the executive branch and Senate. One of the things I just wanted to say though, in Senate we are elected on issues. We run on issues. People vote for us because of issues that we pick out, and we campaign on certain things. I ran as a conservative. I wrote on everything. I posted I'm a conservative. I also ran on not raising fees. So if I had voted against concealed carry, or if I had voted to raise fees, I would have been a liar. That's quite frank. So if he's saying that we're not voting, we shouldn't be voting for things that we ran on, it's interesting to me. It's not something I would agree with. And anyways, I just wanted to bring this up as one last thing. Whenever SP Claybrook was presenting his veto presentation, Senator McNutt set up and he said, when you ran, you said you would do not what was popular but what was right. And on the concealed carry issue, SP Claybrook obviously went with what was popular. And I don't really want to connect the dots on that one, but that's all I have to say. I just want to encourage everybody to keep voting for what they campaigned on, because that's what thanks again.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Is there any way to make that little period at the end of every open forum speech not awkward, not as awkward as it feels to me?
It's not awkward.
Everyone knows it.
It's only awkward if you make it.
All right, next up is Thomas McNutt.
I'll try to be brief, guys. Time starts at howdy.
Yes.
Oh, well, howdy.
Howdy.
My parents separated at my birth and did not raise me together. My granddad raised me, and I remember when I was little, just put that up. I remember when I was little, when I get caught in like a little white lie or something like that, or I made a commitment that I couldn't fulfill. Oftentimes I thought I was really clever when I would say, no, I didn't lie. I didn't break my commitment. I just changed my mind. I just changed my mind. And I remember I would say, no, situations have changed since this happened, and I have changed my mind now. And I remember my granddad sitting down and he told me, he said, Thomas, the Bible says, let your yes be yes and your no's be no's. And a real man sticks to what he commits to doing. And that if you make a commitment that you want to back out on, then that's your fault. You got into it to begin with, and you got to live with it. And I just do not think, John, listen, man, I love you, and I consider you a friend. I really do. I'm not kidding. We have a very interesting, wonderful relationship. But I don't think this is a way to unify campus. I don't think this is a way to build trust. I don't think the way to build trust and unification is calling people out, not just in the Bat, but in the Eagle. You know who reads the Eagle? Your grandparents. The people who read the Eagle are alumni in town, old ags, and now they're concerned about our student government being divided. The House divided against itself cannot stand. If you have an issue, come to me, man. As soon as I lost the election to you, I said, hey, if you need my help reaching out or unifying SGA, come talk to me. I'm still waiting on the call. You said that we're leaderless. I'm looking at every leader that we elected in here. I think they do a good job. I don't think we're leaderless. I consider that an insult to my friends. You haven't even met with a committee head? I'm not here to like call you out, make you look bad. Like, honestly, that is not my part in this, okay? But, I'm on the conservative end of things. I agree with Mr. Schwartner, Regent Schwartner, saying that anytime a public institution raises their tuitions or fees, it's a tax. And I'm against tax increases. I'm looking at more efficient government with what we already have, rather than just raising every time we want a new project. That's my conservative mind. Look, Bill Clinton also dealt with a legislative branch Bill Clinton also dealt with a legislative branch that was more conservative leaning than he was, okay, on guns, on taxes, etc. Okay? He reached out to them. He took them out to lunch. There's stories about him taking them to the White House, having drinks with them, and finding compromise. And they had a wonderful time, but you're the leader, man. So be the leader. And you can be. And I know that you can be, and I'm here to help. Okay? I'm here to help. And finally, I'll say, I joined student government because I was walking to class and I saw cracks in the sidewalk and it bugged me. So I ran for Senate, semicolon. But I promised myself that I would never take a difference in policy to demean someone's character. And I think that we should end our disagreements at just policy and not saying things like pride and legalism. So that's my deal. Anyway, talk to me after, and I'm here to shoot seriously. Thank you. Oh, yes. Ask away. Seriously, ask away.
Chair Miller,
Yeah.
what is this picture? You didn't touch on it. I don't know what.
Okay, John promised he wouldn't campaign, and now he's campaigning. I've talked to 3 members of the exec branch who also said that they were encouraged not to campaign in an email that I've read, and now he's campaigning. And anyways, here's my deal. I just, when we're telling our constituents that we won't be involved in campaigning, and then we are, I see that as a way to break trust, and I see it as a way that is not unifying. Okay, it's okay. Like, we can move on in a positive direction. It's all right. But this is just an example. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Senator Wood.
Tracy Wood, off
Tracy.
campus. So not in a mean way at all,
No,
because
you're
we're
good.
friends and everything.
I got you,
But I know that you are kind of like blaming the bad relations on John a little bit. But do you think that you've done anything in here besides kind of attacking him every time he talks to promote that relationship?
No, man, I haven't. In fact, quite the opposite. I went to John's office last week. No, it wasn't last week, but as soon as after concealed carry passed, and I went in and I leaned in his office and I said, "Hey, John, now that we passed concealed carry, like, how can I help? Like, did I not? I said, we've got to advocate this to the administration. What can I do?" Honestly, in my brain, it just completely separates personal things and policy. If I disagree with your policy, I'm going to disagree with your policy. And that's it. I just see it as policy. I don't see faces up here. I see, representations of policy. That's it. Okay. As soon as I lost the election, I called John and I wished him good luck, told him congratulations, and I said, if I can be helpful at all, reach out to me. I'm here. I've got influence. I've got friends in here. I want to help. And I haven't reached out to you yet. I even applied for a spot on his executive cabinet. I mean, I have been the first one to try to reach out. So,
Senator Russo.
Regarding this campaigning issue,
yeah, Chris.
considering that the Election Commission is not directly accountable to the Senate for the enforcement of the elections regulations, which are a statute,
Sure.
And that means that the student body president is ultimately accountable to the Senate for the execution of the election regulations. Do you believe that it creates a conflict of interest for the student body president to campaign for any candidate or candidates?
I do. I mean, I think if you got a student body president who's supporting a certain candidate, and a person that works for him and under him who's hired by him and can be fired by him is the one supposedly administrating the elections, and he's the final go-between, he's already reached beneath the election commission to pick a candidate, I see that as a conflict of interest. I do. Jeff Pickering committed to not endorsing or campaigning for anyone, and he kept his promise. And nobody can blame him whatsoever. I thought he did it the right way. So yeah, I do see it as a conflict of interest. I do. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes questions.
Member of Parliament, or point of order, can I suggest to extend question and answer one question? Because Senator Russo, Senator Blessing had his hand up before Russo.
Okay. Is there any objection? Seeing none, Senator Blessing.
Kind of a quick preface.
Sure.
Okay, so you just mentioned policy versus personal. I noticed that's a personal conversation between two people. Do you know the day of that conversation? And do you know if after that conversation John interacted with Reed and learned of this candidacy, he decided to support his brother?
interacted with Reed?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, John and I both known Reed for years.
Okay, so can I have a follow-up? I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So after that conversation, he could have changed his mind. And
Right,
decided
see,
to
and right, no, you're right, guys, and that's why I
after
mentioned.
learning his case.
No, this was post everybody around. In fact, I can tell you, I can preface, because you want me to preface. This was after candidates had been announced, okay?
What day was that?
I'd have to look it up on my Facebook. It was after candidates were announced, and the question was, Trevor was at, look, I mean, he's explaining. Well, for one thing, you can see the profile picture. Like, this is a screenshot of the day, so clearly a profile picture. In fact, Garrett's profile pictures went up after Reed's did. Okay, and so clearly it was after they were announced. Okay, so we know that for a fact now. But in addition, the question was, he wanted to, well, you can see, he wanted to ask on Garrett's website whether he could mention John or not in his bio. So clearly this was post, so that I understand that would be a reasonable explanation. He didn't know about his candidacy yet, but he did. Good question.
All right, that concludes question and answer. Thank you, Senator McNutt. Next is there's Hudson Hoyle, and then I also have on deck Nicole Heath. And is there another individual who wants to speak? Okay. All right, so Senator Hoyle.
Howdy.
Howdy.
I did not have anything previously prepared, so forgive me if I'm looking at my phone to keep track of my thoughts, but my choice words in Senate have been few and far between. I've been kind of a quiet observer, actively engaged, but quietly engaged. And I have seen a lot. I see a group of passionate leaders that want to lead, but I think it is very misguided right now. I think the very fact that so much discussion has been facilitated since we walked in this room today sheds light that John actually made a great move as a leader, because this problem might not otherwise have been brought up. I think a lot of times, a lot of us are quick to come into this room already having our formulated opinions and refusing to take a stance otherwise. Now, I don't believe that it's compromising. Somebody said that they were elected for being conservative and having those kind of ideals and being against student service fees. That's wonderful, and I think it's great that you stick by those principles. I can say that I was elected purely on a popular vote. I did absolutely nothing. I'm not in here by any merit of my own because I didn't mention any policy. I'm going to be perfectly honest. But I think that we're all at fault in here if you refuse to walk into this room and be willing to listen to what John or any other exec or any other senator in this room has to say, purely because you might not agree with everything they have to say. Now, I also kind of wonder if the people that expressed their reservations against John endorsing Reed would have spoken so strongly if he had endorsed Garrett. And I don't believe that they would have, which is why I do believe that a lot of members in Senate, including myself sometimes, are selfish and prideful. I think John hit a lot of things really spot on, and I think that I really do wonder how many of you read that article and the first thing you thought was, what speech am I going to make and present at Senate to countermand what he had to say, as opposed to actually reflecting and thinking, wow, what if I actually did something wrong? Because if it takes an article being published to the entire university to get the attention of this student senate, I think that there's something wrong with the leadership in this room. So that's all I have to say.
I have Chair Cheshire, then Chair Miller, then Senator Russo. So withdraw. Chair Miller. Senator Russo.
Okay. So Hudson, I have a question. If you had a problem with one of your fraternity brothers,
Yes.
and you hadn't addressed some of the issues that you had with him before, would you go to the entire fraternity at a general meeting and publicly announce those problems with him in front of everybody before personally consulting?
I don't know if I can answer that question, nor do I think that my leadership reflects that of John's. I think he's a fantastic leader, and I think I lead in different ways as well. But I have called out people in our chapter. That's, as a president, I stood up at the front of a room and I called out people individually. So yes, I have done that. Sorry if that's not what you agree with, but benefits came from it.
All right, next question goes to Chair Mandry.
All right, Chairman Yakin with First Hanson. So yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I guess my question for you is, do you really think that it was necessary to go to the battalion? And actually, I guess my real underlying question is, do you feel that the problems that John brought up in his battalion article were completely addressed in this room before he went to the battalion?
If I'm being honest, no, I don't. But I will reiterate that I'm glad that they were brought up, even if the manner was a little bit bold, because it's getting discussion actually facilitated. For once, we're actually, each side of this room is working to arrive at a conclusion together as to how we're going to solve this problem. And I don't think I've seen that once since I've been elected to the Senate.
All right, Senator O'Neill.
Senator O'Neill, freshman class. A lot of people have said, like, why didn't John just come and talk to us? You know, we would have been understanding. But wouldn't you agree that if John had come in here and said, hey guys, we're not reaching an understanding, we need to compromise more, it would have just got shut down. I mean, we've all seen John walk into the room and open his mouth and instantly be hit with hostility from many in the Senate. I mean, don't you agree that this was really one of his only options to go public?
I mean, I believe that there could have been multiple options, and I don't know. It could have been the lesser of two evils, could have been a different path taken. But I mean, I'm not trying to condemn this room as well. I think that we're as quick to point fingers at them as they are to point fingers at us, and there is that divide, and there's a disposition to do that. But yes, I think that something more bold than just standing up here and saying, guys, we have a communication and a disconnect. I don't think anybody would have listened to John if he stood up at this podium and said that.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes question and answer. Thank you, Senator Hoyle. For those of you who aren't aware, there are only 3 questions in each open forum presentation. So next up is Nicole Heath.
Okay, so it's no secret that I'm on exec, and that I'm on Garrett's campaign, but I'm not speaking on behalf of any of those groups, I'm just speaking as myself. But basically, I just have to respectfully disagree with all of you, Senate and John, just in general. I think last year, I know y'all feel like y'all are thrown under the bus, and I get that, but let's be real. This whole gridlock thing started last year when runoffs were announced, and it hasn't changed the entire year. And whenever we went through confirmations and stuff, all that was done was like, oh, John likes this person, I have to hate that person. And anything that John liked, it's true though. Like, whatever John liked, y'all have been against this year. And y'all want to know like why I haven't been at Senate very much this year? I didn't miss a single roll call for 2 years. And this year, like, I didn't have to put up with this anymore. Y'all haven't given me a piece of legislation whatsoever. Asked for your help on election stuff in the fall to like register students to vote. 20 people signed up and 3 people showed up. Like really, y'all say y'all are doing all this stuff to help students, and that just really frustrates me. And so I understand like where John's side is coming from. At the same time, I don't think that the article should have been published today. Maybe other time, like not right a campaign, especially right after John endorsed Reed. When he endorsed Reed, that's fine, that's his own prerogative, I guess. I don't think he would ever remove Allison because she agreed with Garrett and not Reed. I don't ever think that would happen. But maybe whenever he endorsed Reed, like take the article out. But he has tried to talk to you guys. Like he's come for detailed presentations. We have Gov Council. He gives his exec reports, y'all, and y'all can seek him out too. He's one person trying to seek out, what is there, 50 people in here? Y'all are 50 people who have the capability of seeking out one person. And I feel like he has tried to extend that hand, but at the same time, I get why y'all feel like y'all are thrown under the bus. So basically, I don't think a lot's going to change this year, just to be frank. But I think this is a good lesson for next year. Just nobody should cause drama for the sake of causing drama. And I feel like that's what happens a lot of times. So that's basically what I have to say.
All right, first question goes to Senator Met.
Hey, Nicole. Just real quick, what would be your advice to me if I've done the following? Just voted on my principal, regardless of who's presenting what bill. Second of all, if I have applied to be on exec, said, please reach out to me if I can be helped in any way, and even gone to our president's office and saying, how can I help advocate this bill? And I have been receive nothing in return. What is your advice to me?
I mean, he comes in here and says, if y'all want to do anything, then come seek me out.
Right, so what's your advice to me? I've done that.
Seek him out too. I didn't understand what you said.
I'm saying if I've reached out in 3 different big ways
Okay.
and have received nothing in return, what is your advice to me? If I've done that, but I haven't heard anything back. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next up is, I believe, an
Howdy. My name is Parker Reed. I know a couple of y'all in here. I'm actually on the exec staff for the Conference on Student Government Association, which is a committee under the executive branch. But I'm not coming here today as an exec member, but as one of your constituents. I live off campus. I'm in the College of Liberal Arts. And I have to say that I'm not here to touch on the article or the disconnect between either branches of government, but I have to say that I do agree that Student Senate inadequately represents the opinions of myself and many other people. I can personally attest that in basically every conversation that I've ever had, none of my friends support the bills who have concealed carry on campus. I live on campus. I'm not saying that not everyone that lives off campus doesn't support it, but I'm saying that many of the people that I know personally do not support the bill. And then it really did disappoint me. I did come to the meeting. I did, hear the reasons why John wanted it to be shot down, including the past polls that we voted in a majority that we would not support a bill like that. And it did disappoint me that our opinions weren't adequately represented, at least in the numbers that I saw. I'm not coming here to accuse y'all of anything. We all work hard. We all put in a lot of hours that a lot of people don't recognize. And I'm just coming here to say, as a constituent, I do agree that, it's kind of hard to find y'all sometimes. I see members of the exec staff walking to the SGA office every day. I don't see, senators walking to the SGA office every day. I don't see senators on campus, set up, asking for our opinion. I know that's something that y'all might want to change or think about, but I just wanted to offer the opinion of one constituent that y'all might have. Thanks.
All right, first up, Miller.
Chair Miller, Constituency Affairs. Do you think it might be possible, I know you said that many of your friends don't support concealed carry. Do you think it might be possible that that's sort of a biased view because they're your friends and you share similar opinions?
I do not in any way. I have many friends that I argue with constantly and don't share the same opinions at all. Many of my friends, in fact, have concealed carry gun licenses personally. Some of my roommates have guns that they keep in the house that they're fully licensed to. They don't support it just because they have the same opinion. Just because they're my friend does not in any way mean that we have the same opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Price.
Chair Price, off campus. I was wondering if you voted in the last year's election.
I absolutely did vote in last year's election.
On the brief follow-up, please.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay.
Senator.
Do you think that disagreement with the Student Senate's decision on one bill out of dozens during one legislative session constitutes a fundamental disconnect in the way that you're speaking?
I think that the fundamental disconnect doesn't come from the one decision regarding the concealed campus carry bill, but I think it comes from the fact that I don't know who my off-campus senators are and how are they representing my opinion if we're not hearing from them. I don't ever hear, I get constantly reached out to from the executive branch. I get emails, opportunities and ways that we can get involved with the committees, the commissions, etc. But I don't get anything from the Student Senate on, hey, what's your opinion on this? Outside of the Aggie pollster, I don't get anything asking my opinion.
All right, a quick point of information, Mr. Speaker, and this preferably would be directed at Chair Miller. Is it true that Chair Miller has been trying to reach out to the battalion for a couple weeks or months now, trying to get Senate-related articles in the bat to publicize our efforts as a constituency affairs chair?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, it hasn't been a few months. It's been ever since I was elected. I emailed the previous editor of the battalion. He just never responded to me. Then I emailed the current editor of the battalion. before school even started, never responded to me. Finally, after me emailing him multiple times, he finally responded to me sometime around December, I think, and said that to have a senator write an opinion article about SGA or Senate would be biased, and so he wouldn't allow it. Then John's article came out. I emailed him today, and he said, sure, that would be fine. Just have someone write it to me and get it as soon as possible. That's how it happened.
All right, and that concludes question and answer.
Thank you.
Was there one more person for Alden Scott?
Howdy, Ags.
Howdy.
Howdy. Y'all are really irritable tonight, aren't you? I just wanted to stand up after listening to all y'all speak. I wanted to thank Omar for being a reasonable person and working with me so closely this year. I think we've gotten a lot done, and I wanted to thank him. I can't speak for anybody else, but I know Omar and I are pretty clear on our legislation and working for the students. Past that, I have no opinion. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And you'll be receiving a lovely handwritten thank you note from me here. Oh. All right. Any questions?
Luke Williams, off campus. I don't know if this is true, but I heard you're running for Senate. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thanks, y'all, for me.
All right, there is one final person on the board, and that is me. Okay, so guys, I think there's been a fundamental disconnect in the approach we take to the Student Senate and student government as a whole that has lasted at least since I've been in Student Senate, and that's been 4 years. And I guess I'm going to start off by reading the mission statement of the Student Senate. I know it's something we do every meeting, but I feel like a lot of people have not listened to it and internalized it, and it is this. The Texas A&M University Student Senate represents all students in order to enhance the Texas A&M experience within our university and communities through research, legislation, and advocacy in accordance with the core values of our institution. There's nothing in there about communicating with anyone. There's nothing in there about student opinion. There's nothing in there about referendums and polls and asking your friends anything. You were supposed to research and make good decisions, make the best decisions on behalf of students. Now, you don't know what those are necessarily unless you talk to people. That's why you do it. You talk to people so that you can find out what the issues are on campus, so that you can get different perspectives, so that you can make up your mind by knowing what other people have to say. But we don't take referendums because there's no point in having a student senate if we take a referendum on every single issue. There's no point in having a student senate if we go by opinion polls or what groups of our friends say, because that's not scientific or accurate anyway. Guys, I think another big problem we've had over the past year is letting policy, like Senator McNutt said, letting policy issues bleed into personal issues. There have been a lot of times since I've been in the Student Senate when I was on the losing side of an issue. When something got funded that I didn't like, when the Student Senate voted in favor of something that I was opposed to. But I didn't take it personally. I understood that when that happens, I lost. And it's my job to go advocate for that now and to support it. And even if maybe in private I might complain about it to some people, I would never write an article in the battalion about how much I disagreed with what just happened. It is not the place of the student body president to, when something is completely litigated and done with, to go around the Student Government Association completely, to subvert a referendum by asking the administration to conduct their own and then publicly trashing the referendum that we pass and questioning its validity. That is not the place of the student body president at all. It is his duty to advocate for it and to get out the vote and to support whatever decision is reached. When concealed carry was decided, I thought we were done with that issue. I thought it was decided that student government was in support of it, And though we may disagree with it privately, we could still, publicly, we would be united in our opinion on that issue. And I guess that's the end of my sentence.
The first question goes to Senator Hoyle. Okay, see. Senator Woolsey.
Yeah, was there anything you wanted to add to that to this discussion?
Okay. I feel like I'm pretty much done. It's just like, I don't believe that unity is necessary at the beginning. I think unity can be destructive if we all think the same way, if we all have the same opinions. The reason we have a student senate and an executive branch and an entire government set up is because it provides a structured, reasonable way to resolve disagreement. So if we are not united, if we are diverse in our opinions, then that is a good thing. That helps us make better decisions. If two people disagree, then they can build on each other constructively, figure out what the flaws in each other's positions are, and both of them come out stronger because of that. But after a decision has been made, we have to be united in what we do. A decision is made to hold a referendum. So we don't go around complaining about it afterward. We get out the vote and make sure that the referendum, that whatever happens with the referendum, it is passed. When bills are passed, we don't go complain about them later, we go enact them. That's how a government works. And if you don't like something, then propose legislation to overturn it, but don't question the validity of the student senate and the entire student government because you don't like something that happened.
Okay, then the second question goes to Senator McNutt.
Yeah, Scott, can you give us an example of a time when something was passed, one direction or another, and it was not advocated properly, or there was still divide post-bill, if that makes sense?
Well, I feel like there have been examples of that this session, but I think I've already belabored the point on those. One example of a time when something passed that I didn't like was in the 62nd session. There was a bill that was brought up for emergency legislation. It was several $1,000s being appropriated for a trip called Big 12 on the Hill. It was a lobbying trip that two students were being sent on, the Vice President of Legislative Relations and his Vice President within the committee, to Washington, D.C. to lobby on issues that were facing student government. And they basically came in, asked for basically a blank check. The amounts of money they wanted, I thought, were ridiculous. They had no legislative agenda, and they wanted emergency legislation to appropriate this money. And so I opposed that. A majority of the Senate was in favor of funding it, but it wasn't made emergency legislation, and we laid out conditions. We said, look, come back to us with a legislative agenda, moderate some of these costs, and we can reach compromise, and it'll be a constructive trip. And that's what happened. So we had a legislative agenda, we had lower costs, and that was an example of the executive branch and the Senate being divided and disagreeing, and a bill failing, and yet still using that as an opportunity to build understanding and build trust and come back together and advocate for legitimate policy. And I think that is something that has really been missing over the past year. The first time we hear about the student body president's disagreement with a bill should not be in his veto presentation. So I guess that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, the last question goes to Senator Zelaya.
Senator Zelaya, my question is that you mentioned the purpose of student senate, and you also said that over there that we have to gather student unity. Do you think that it is fair for students that we only reach out to them when we are seeking a position, or do they deserve for us to reach out to them every time there is an issue in the student senate?
Oh, absolutely. But the reason we do it is not to take polls and say 3/5 of my friends are for this, 2/5 are against it, so I'm for it. That's not constructive because it's not scientific, first of all. You can't tell, based on the limited sample of your experience, how the rest of the student body feels on any issue. If you think you can, you're wrong. But you should reach out to as many students as possible to learn about what the problems are they have with whatever we're doing. So there are a lot of times when there's been an issue in Student Senate, and I've talked to people about it and learned about new facts or things related to the issue that I didn't know before. The exact same thing is true about talking with administrators about the things we do. We talk to them not because we need to get their approval or because we need to get a rubber stamp, but because there may be things that we just don't know about yet that have to be resolved before something can happen. So that's why we seek out student opinion. If we didn't seek out student opinion, we wouldn't know about a lot of the issues that we address. and we wouldn't make good decisions even if we did. Even if we thought we had all the facts, we might not. But I also believe that Student Senate is in a much better position to do that than the executive branch. Every single one of us is a different person. We are unique, we are diverse, we each have different groups of friends, and between the up to 76 of us in any session, we can reach a lot of different people, and generally if there's a problem with something we're doing, then at least one of them will have mentioned it. So that's why we reach out and get student opinion. But at the end of the day, it is not about doing what's popular or what a majority of people want. It is about making good, right, beneficial decisions for the student body.
And then I'm going to have to say no because of the performance lane or wait, going past that.
All right, and that concludes the report. So now, if there is no objection, I would like to deviate from the agenda to the student body president's executive report, so that we can kind of get this issue done with before we move into our business. Seeing none, executive report.
Scott, I have another thing.
Okay, the chair makes a motion to deviate from the agenda, and I can change the order of the agenda anytime I like, but someone can make a call to return to the schedule. But I'm making a motion to basically rearrange the agenda to make the executive report next. Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. That passes. John?
Howdy. Howdy. Well, Chair Sosa, we have been doing stuff this year. We just completed the SEC exchange. I think that Amanda Hathaway put on one of the best SEC exchanges. We have been receiving rave reviews. Even to this point, people still text me about how good of a time they had at SEC exchange, all the things that they learned, and the people they got to meet. Amanda had Dean Card out at the Association of Former Students as a keynote speaker on the last night, which was pretty incredible, and she really put on an amazing event for them. Also, Chair Sosa, we're planning the first ever SEC joint lobbying trip in Washington, D.C. Every single SEC school is participating. This is the first time it's ever happened. If you guys have any thoughts on national issues that should be lobbied for, we'd be happy to take anything in consideration. At the state level, Stephen's actually been every single week this semester, Chair Cheshire. He's been lobbying for concealed carry under my direction because you guys passed that bill. We're very proud to represent you guys, as we have been all year. We are almost done with creating an on-campus food pantry, the 12th can. Mark has been working so diligently on making that happen. We are really thrilled to meet the needs of students on this campus, and anybody who says that we haven't done anything this year is full of it, and that pisses me off because I've worked my tail off every single week this year for student government. I worked 80 hours 2 weeks in a row this semester, okay? It's not like I'm doing nothing. I've given 160 speeches all over the state and nation. I work 70 or 80 hours every single week for this organization. And it pisses me off whenever people say that your job is not to go out and talk to people. That is your job. There are people in this room who are elected by 4 votes. Hudson said it right. There are so few people who research the policy. This is oftentimes a popularity contest, okay? And a lot of you guys take it very seriously. A lot of people just want to be in student senate because they want to serve. But I guarantee you that there are so few of your constituents who voted for you because they really researched your policy. Okay, if that was the case, I'd say absolutely. If there are more people like Senator Mitchell, who said I'm a conservative, and really feels like a lot of people voted for him because he's a conservative, I think absolutely vote for what you ran on. But the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of people who don't pay attention to that stuff. And you've got to go out, you've got to meet with people, you've got to do something more than having a Twitter feed or a Facebook page. People want to be engaged. People want to have their voice heard, guys. I tweeted about it earlier today, but there's a quote from Edmund Burke who says it should be the glory of every elected representative for there to be no divide between them and their constituencies. You guys are one of them. You've got to act like one of them. You're not better than them. I'm not better than them. I don't know any more than they do. They are capable of making their own decisions, okay? They're capable of speaking to you guys and making educated choices. We need to educate them and we need to interact with them, okay? We can do better. And that was the purpose of that article, okay? We can do so much better. And when I received 48 text messages today saying I could not agree more with your article, and 0 text messages, well, one from Senator Russo, who's upset. 1 text message that was against it. When I had people interacting with me on Twitter and Facebook all day long, saying how great they thought the article was, and that I took the words right out of their mouth. Senators in this room who said I hit the nail on the head. This is an issue, guys. And I think Senator Hoyle said it best. I really feel like, if I were to come up here, that I've not been given the due respect to make a difference, to make an impact through speaking to you guys. I feel like my opinions go unheard quite often. And sometimes going to the people is the best course of action. And today, I think it works because we're having a conversation about it, guys. That was the purpose. And if we can make changes as a result of this, and if the next session can begin to address those issues right off the bat, like we didn't do a year ago, that's the goal. The goal is for the future. I think, Nicole, you said it. You said it right. This relationship might not be mendable right now, and that's okay, because there's going to be a new student body president, and there's going to be new senators. And if they go into this with the knowledge that we can do better, I think this entire organization is going to be more effective, it's going to be better representatives, it's going to serve better. And so that was the point, guys. And I hope it got across. There's a reason that I didn't mention any personal names in here, because it's not a personal thing, Senator Manhattan. It's not personal at all. This is my convictions to share with an organization that I believe in, and that I think should be the example for the entire nation to watch as to how student government should be done. And we've got a lot of room to improve. So I'm happy to take any questions, Mr. Speaker.
All right, first up, Senator Woolsey.
Howdy, Senator Woolsey, Northside. This has nothing to do with any of the mess that's gone on today. All right. So I just wanted to know what happened with the parking restoration bill that we passed like a month ago that I emailed you about like last week. I just want to know.
Did you really?
Yeah. I don't know if that kind of got lost in the mess, but
okay.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, there's I oftentimes look at my, not oftentimes, about once every couple months, I look at my junk mail.
Yeah.
There's a number of messages in there. I would not have ignored you, I promise. And I'll search that. If I missed it, that's totally my mistake. I was hoping that Mark could update me before I gave my executive report on all of the legislation that's been sent out. He has sent many emails this week to make sure that legislation is received by everybody. Can you ask me after the meeting? I haven't been briefed on it yet.
That we would know, since it passed like a month ago. It was emergency legislation.
Right, and I answered you.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you can ask me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
All right. Chair Sosa.
Hi, President Tabor. Have a few questions. I know there's different things that are going on in SGA, within SGA members like SSA Exchange and the lobbying issues because of a lot of those bills. So I'm funded my bills and I go to my committee. But what kind of things do you do to reach out to students? Do you publicize office hours on your website? Do you have office hours set up where students can walk into your office? Do you go to different locations on campus and just stand and wait for students to come up to you and you approach them to ask for their opinion? That's my question.
I don't have set office hours, and I don't say this pridefully, but I had 25 meetings scheduled this week. I usually give about 5 speeches a week. I usually spend at least 1 or 2 days out of town, and it is dang hard to set office hours. And if I thought that I could, if I could, I certainly would. And maybe it's a possibility if you start off at the very beginning of the year and say, I'm going to be in town at this time every single day, then maybe it's a possibility. But I got an email today asking to give 7 speeches over the next month at random times throughout the week. And that's important to me to be able to greet incoming students and VIP students to this university, and I want to make those. I want to be at all the meetings that I can be at. My door to my office is open every single time I'm in there, unless I'm in a meeting. I send out student body updates with my Twitter handle and blog, and I say, if you have any concerns, please email me. I received quite a few emails today, responded to them all very, very promptly. I'm out speaking to student organizations quite often, and I ask if they have any concerns after I'm done speaking. But the fact of the matter is that my job is to execute. I think it's although I think it's very important that I'm in constant communication with students, it's really y'all's responsibility to be out talking to students. Y'all are the ones who are supposed to see the problems. Y'all are the ones who are supposed to do something about it. And so I'd ask you the same thing. Do you set office hours?
I reach out to you. Or you want to ask me? I think I mentioned I reach.
How many senators in this room hold weekly office hours at a designated location?
Raise your hand if you've done that.
Point of information, how many senators have an office? That was a joke. No, I didn't mean that. I'm just joking. Just a comical.
Oh yeah, and I would like to...
No comments from the peanut gallery.
I would like to say, however, that every member of the executive cabinet who is a representative of me and my team does have office hours. And so if you're worried about a specific issue, you can go in and find out when you can meet with them. They have them every week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chairman Andrew.
All right. Howdy, John.
Howdy.
Tyler Andrew, Academic Affairs. So, John, well, we're all family in here. We're a family of Aggies and within SGA. We're one heck of a dysfunctional family, but and I think strong words are exchanged and strong words are necessary. I do agree with you, John, that we can do better, and I'm glad we're having this conversation here tonight. My question for you is do you have any concrete ideas, any advice for us as Senate to reach out? And part of that is, do you agree with Scott Bone that we don't, Chair Bone, Speaker Bone, that it's our job to get information from students? Is that what you're echoing from Chair Bone? Or do you disagree?
And I completely disagree with the Speaker, to be quite honest with you. I think if there was, if we were running Democrat, Republican, and people knew that, and that's how they voted, I think very clearly we would know what the right answer is. But when there's a number of people who are elected because of name recognition, and when very few of the people that I know vote for senators because of policy platforms, I think it's a different ballgame. You've got to find out what people want, what they think. And granted, there's a lot of bills that are not controversial at all. And there's a number that I think Senator Russo mentioned that haven't been controversial that are going to benefit students. But when I get an email from the chair of the Student Engineers Council who says that there was a bill passed about differential tuition for engineering and study abroad, and he didn't receive one phone call. Nobody from the engineering school council received one phone call, one email about any of this stuff. This is stuff that affects them. We need to talk to them. And they're the people who know better than anybody else. So that's my answer for it. I definitely, completely, and 100% disagree with the Speaker.
May I briefly follow up?
In the interest of time, no. Okay, the next question, I will ask the next question. You mentioned, Mr. President, that you thought most senators were elected in popularity contests. Do you believe your election was a popularity contest?
I don't know. Thomas is pretty popular. Probably to an extent. But that's why I go out and talk to students, is because I know they know what they're talking about. I don't always know best, and there's a lot of things that came up that I didn't have a stance on, and so I go and talk about it.
Yeah. Thanks. Next question, Chair Cheshire.
Howdy, John. Mr. President, sorry. Okay. You said in the last meeting when we were discussing the Cowfield referendum that it wouldn't really be appropriate or professional or really honest to basically take a position on an election that we're running, because we were talking about advocating for no fee increases.
Right.
How do you rectify that with your endorsement of Reed Joseph in an election that you are overseeing through your executive cabinet process?
And we put into place safeholds against that. Mark and Cole, I've asked to remain completely neutral in case anything comes up. I think, and I've had this conversation with Allison, I had it yesterday. I said, Allison, if anything comes up and if you disqualify Reed, I want you to know that I'm behind you 100% of the way. She's on my team right now. The team that is my priority, regardless of whatever happens. And I believe in Allison. I believe she's going to make the right decision no matter what. And I've got her back regardless. I will not abandon her because my candidate is in a hard, between a rock and a hard place.
Permission to follow up?
The chair will ask the body if it is okay to extend question and answer by 5 minutes.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, that passes. No follow-up. You go to the end of the line. Senator McKnight.
Can you please explain to, I've got other friendlier questions later. Can you explain to us why you committed to certain people that you stay out of elections originally and then went back on?
That's a great question. To me, it became, and this is just being real honest with you, Thomas, it became really clear that that Reed was at a significant disadvantage because you and Drew, two former candidates who have very large followings, were supporting Garrett. And I personally thought Reed was the best candidate, and I didn't want Reed to be at a disadvantage because he supported me, and I was not going to stay out of elections. And so, yes, I originally intended to not be involved. And if I could have done it again, I probably would have contacted that guy who Facebook messaged me and said, hey, sorry, I told you this one thing, but I'm going to be changing my mind now. And so, you caught me, Thomas.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
State your point.
Could you define for me what a conflict of interest is?
I think, I don't know if there's a special definition of conflict of interest. It's when, I guess, someone is in a position of authority that conflicts with something else they want to, and they're supposed to stay neutral for some reason, and there's a policy objective they want to see that would conflict with that duty. The next question goes to you, though, Senator.
Okay, this actually doesn't have a lot to do with that previous point. You stated that one of the most effective goals that you've achieved during this session was enacting legislation that we've passed in this body, or lobbying for it. How do you expect going forward to have any sort of legitimacy on a Senate bill that comes from a body that you described as systematically unrealistic, distrusting, and surprisingly prideful, and that had a dominating principle guiding the decisions of an unrealistic philosophy of idealism that is often devoid of practicality? How do you have any support behind bills that are produced by this body if you're on public record for having said that about our bills?
People already thought it. To be quite honest with you, the message I received consistently throughout the day from people all over the place is you took the words right out of my mouth. And the point of the matter is that's how I view this organization currently, and the goal is to improve. That doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. I think we can become a lot better in a matter of 2 months. But it's a matter of student perception, I think, and we need to get out there. I think that those Senate polo ideas is an awesome idea because people recognize who you are, and I guarantee you they'll go up and speak to you. So that's my opinion, shared with a lot of students on the current condition, and we can become better.
All right, next question goes to Senator Williamson.
Senator Williamson.
Howdy.
I have a good question for you.
Yes, sir.
As a member of the Constituents Affairs Committee, I have been, I'm pressing a little bit for your question.
Right.
I have been, I'm not going to say underwhelmed, but we did one big effort where we tried to get people to like our Facebook page, increase communications with them, and gave out ice pops. It started raining. Kind of a train wreck, but that's besides the point. As the Vice President is going to interact with students on a regular basis, what would you say is the best way for our committee to make an impact now for the students in light of the publicity that the students are taking?
Yeah. What I've always told people who are asking advice about campaigns or publicity as a whole is you just got to think way outside the box. And I think that Facebook and Twitter are used so much that there's almost information overload on there, and people just scan through when they're bored. I think more than anything, getting out there and catching people off guard. For instance, at the University of Florida, they put out a huge whiteboard in the middle of their most popular spot on campus, and they write, "What do you not like about student government?" Or they write, "What do you want to change about our university?" And people go up and they interact with it. They write stuff that they don't like. And that's where some of their best ideas come from. And so that's an idea of thinking way outside the box, doing something that hasn't been done before that will catch people off guard and catch their attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Woolsey, your follow-up. Senator Howard.
Richard Howard, man.
Yes.
Just moving forward, I'd like to know what your advice would be to the incoming senators and the incoming SVP and both groups of chairs.
That's a really good idea. I think there's got to be a decided upon philosophy towards what we're doing. I think I disagree with the majority of the leadership's view of how we should, you should be senators. I'm under the impression that we ought to go out and talk to people, even if it's not scientific. I think we should all act with the integrity of voting how our constituents want us to vote. A lot of people in here see your job as a trustee role of representation. I think if we can have that conversation on how we're supposed to represent, I think that will build the trust that is necessary. Because when I don't agree with your form of representation, I build up a lack of trust in the body. And I think that's where it needs to start. It is a foundation of trust and how we're doing our jobs. Thank you.
Okay, there are 30 seconds remaining in question and answer, and several questions left.
Mr. Speaker, I move to extend question and answer by a period of 10 minutes.
Seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
That passes. Next is Chairman.
Chairman, you have to affairs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
just a follow-up.
It was a follow-up. So I guess I'd ask you to clarify. Speaker Bowen does advocate for us speaking to students, but he advocates for us speaking to students for information. And so, where is your disagreement with that?
My disagreement was when he said that it's not part of your responsibility. That nothing might be directly said about that in your responsibility, but I think it's implied by using the word representation. And that's my perspective is that has to be our #1 job, is out interacting with people and engaging the pulse on issues. Thanks.
All right, Chair Cheshire.
Withdrawn.
Speaker Fernandez.
Oh, withdrawn.
Senator Boyle. Senator Nutt.
Thank you for calling me popular. Transferred here and didn't know so. We have, my math serves correctly, and it most likely does not. We have about 90 some odd days left in the semester. So that is 270 meal times. Can you commit to grabbing 3 out of 270 with these leaders here, our leaders that we elected? You know, that you have met with you?
Right.
Can we keep commit to that?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah. All right, Senator Brown.
Trevor Brown, off campus. One thing that I just want to ask you has been bothering me for a long time. Prior to the concealed carry debate, Senator Cimino and I, whoever he may be, the leader, John Woods from the Texans for Gun-Free Schools, and he contacted me multiple times, left messages. Did you not get those?
Contacted me?
Yeah, he called you, left you kind of messages.
What phone? What was it? It could have been a work phone that I don't know how to check the voicemail on it. That could potentially be it. I don't believe I ever got an email. I can search. John Woods of Texans for Concealed Carry.
No, Gun-Free Schools.
Oh, Gun-Free Schools. Okay. The only people that I got contacted by were people who were in favor of it, as far as my memory serves. I'm sorry. That could be completely my mistake. John Wood, Mark, can you write down John Wood? Thank you.
Yeah. Senator Russo.
Thank you. John, we heard a lot, and I think that this is necessary, that we build trust between the Senate and the student body president. But I think a big part of that trust would be helped by making sure that we obey each other's rules and obey the Constitution. Specifically speaking about the article that came out today, you said that the referendum question that will be on the ballot was, sorry, trying to find it, misleading, and that we will mislead the student body, and that it's poor leadership. Now, the problem is that in the election regulations, it says that basically people operating in the capacity of a student government branch, that they may not involve themselves in student government referenda. Involvement includes, but is not limited to, campaigning, endorsement, education, activism, monetary spending, and internet use in support or against of the referendum question. Do you believe that what you said constitutes education about the referendum question and therefore is contrary to the election rules?
Yeah, I think it's honest. To be honest with you, I think it's lying to students to say that money is going to come from the UAF, because I've been told time and time and time again that it's not happening.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
State your point.
Kerry Teshar, legislative affairs. To what fee are they proposing to increase on the university referendum survey, that went out today? What fee are they proposing to increase by a set amount to pay for the Calhoun renovation?
Excuse me, Kerry, I misspoke.
You're out of order. He was standing and giving a point of information, which is now answered, and you may continue your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.